Nightlife, and what is your role in Bristol Northern Soul?
So my name is Lavanna and I'm the co-founder of Bristol Northern Soul Club, and we're at the Eastville Social Club, which is one of our many venues that we do across the city.
And what first got you involved in Northern Soul?
Gosh, so I got into Northern Soul about going up to 12 years now. So Eve, my mum, she was going back to the 80s, going to Northern Soul nights and stuff like that. And she kind of stopped when she had me, but when I got to the age of like 16, I started like getting into kind of soul music and stuff, like just through the kind of natural journey of kind of listening to the soulful influence stuff in the charts, and then you kind of find yourself down a rabbit hole. And then she was like, oh, hang on a second, you're like, I was like playing Northern Soul in the bedroom and she was like, this is my music, what are you listening to this for? So, and then it's kind of been, the rest is history really.
See, that's so interesting, because recently I did a uni report on like intergenerational like music and like passing it through generations. Do you think that that's something that you like were passed on from your parents, or something that you yourself had an interest in and, you know, got into on your own accord?
That's a really interesting question, because I think Northern Soul is always kind of perceived as this very like multi-generational kind of scene where, you know, obviously it's grown with the ages, the people that were into it in the original days, but there's also lots of young people coming through. You know, I was very lucky to have a parent that was into it, and I was very quickly introduced to Northern Soul, and as soon as I kind of started listening to that kind of sound, I was you know, I had someone that I could go to and ask about the history. But there's a lot of people that are getting on the scene now which are literally finding it for themselves. You know, they're either going to a Northern Soul night, or they've seen it on YouTube, or like through a film or through a documentary. And I think, you know, it's kind of like history repeating itself. Like these kind of young kids are like getting into it, and they're finding this scene and this kind of music, and they're really like losing themselves in it, which is really, really cool.
Amazing. Is it something you had to practice, or did it just come all naturally?
You know what, like with Northern Soul, I think a lot, especially nowadays with like social media, a lot of people see people like throwing it down on the dance floor, and it's very easy to see those videos and be like, oh my gosh, like I could never do that. But man, when I first like started, the first Northern Soul I went to was like, I was like, literally looked like I was stamping on ants, like, like there's no kind of rhyme or reason. As long as you love the music, as long as you're there for the right reasons, that's all that matters, isn't it?
Yeah, it was quite funny, because I came across a TikTok video of Northern Soul, and one of the comments was like, oh, this is like me in my room at 3 a.m, like listening to music. And it actually is, like, you can just go out.
No, honestly, and that is the one thing I love about Northern Soul. Like, you can come out, like I said, if you're there for the right reasons, like, it doesn't really matter how you dance. Like, you know, if you're enjoying the music, that is the one thing that, like, it's the one thing, you know what I mean?
And obviously the history of it, like, it's from the north.
Yeah.
But when I researched it earlier, like, Bristol and London have like the biggest scenes really at the moment. Like, what do you think caused that cultural shift?
It's really interesting, because there was an article that came out about how kind of Northern Soul has become Southern. But actually there's always been a Northern Soul scene in the South, you know. I think Northern Soul, it started in the clubs in Manchester, it grew to places like Wigan, but there's been places in Stafford, places in London, even Gloucester was a stronghold for like a Northern Soul scene. Bristol itself, Bristol City, never really had a very strong scene. It had a kind of a mod scene, but not so much Northern Soul. So with Bristol Northern Soul Club, we've kind of tried to create this space where people can come and listen to like Northern Soul classics, but also listen to some of the you know, some of the newer stuff coming out as well, and just tried to create our own sound.
Amazing. And obviously with Bristol Northern Soul Club, you're here at Eastville Club tonight, but if you look on their website, you go to places like the Crown, like, you know, is it the old Market Assembly? Yeah. What's different about those kind of nights? Is it all like this? Is there, you know, more just like practicing? You know, what's the sort of vibe with the club, and what different things can people get involved with?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. When I first got into Northern Soul, my favourite thing, you know, you'd go to different nights, and every sort of night would have its own kind of style. They'd play like certain genres of music, like whether it be more on the mod side, whether it be more on the Northern Soul classics, or the modern side. So in Bristol, we've kind of, with the Bristol Northern Soul Club, kind of branched out and done different nights as well. So at the Crown's Haven, it's your more slower stuff, being a Sunday. The Old Market Assembly, that was where we started originally 4 years ago. So that's a kind of, I'd say that's a kind of across the board night. Sometimes you hear classics, sometimes you hear the more progressive stuff, but we've also like sort of started running nights which kind of encompass the more disco, the 70s sort of stuff, and I think, you know, the kind of history of Northern Soul, there's so much to it and so many different genres and styles that, you know, you can go to one club and it can be totally different to the next club that you go to.
Well, maybe this is your sign if you're watching the video to come along. Perfect.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'd love to see you on the dance floor.
See you there. Thank you so much. Oh. So basically, are you more involved in this or Northern Soul or a bit of both?
So I'm the vice chairman of this club.
Yeah.
And I've known Eve for a very long time.
Yeah.
So from the age of 16 to 18, skateboarding and things, we used to have numerous drum and bass nights and hip-hop nights. Yeah. Eve used to be a heavy DJ back in the day around the Bristol scene. And we became friends because I DJ'd as well, and I wanted to do rock and roll and reggae. Eve was doing a slightly different vibe, obviously with Northern Soul and things. So we became friends through music. And then when I joined the Eastville Social Club 2 years ago, I basically said, the first people I want to get in is Eve with Bristol Northern Soul. We got them in. We did a few promo clips, which actually went viral. We had 1.8 million views on some of our videos on our Instagram and Northern Soul's. And yeah, it's just a great venue. They love to do gigs here. A lot of the Northern Soul people too actually really like this venue because you can sit down in it. Believe it or not, Northern Soul people like to have a seat. Because they can sit there, when a tune comes on, they can jump up, have a dance. But yeah, you have other venues, you don't have seats available, and you're stood up all night just lingering around. But also, you have the vintage dance floor, the vintage vibe, and the cheap pints.
I was going to say, when I came in, it gave such like an 80s kind of like old school vibe. You know, like I was saying Billy Elliot, like that kind of like look about it.
Okay.
Yeah. But obviously outside I was having a little conversation with you and you were having a chat about the history of the club and your involvement, the past, everything like that. Could I have a quick rundown for the camera?
Totally. So my mum and nan, when it used to be the Bristol Rovers ground over the road, used to work there, and this always used to be the supporters club. They used to be members here, and then I actually found out a couple of years back that they were having struggles with rent, and their current landlord trying to up the rent to kick them out. So me working in events, me and my friend basically said, well, let's join the committee, bring in events, bring in more money. If they want to bring up the rent, we'll have the money in the bank. So again, you know, Northern Soul, we introduced that. We introduced a lot of other music here. We have drum and bass, jungle nights as well. But you have to follow us on Instagram for that.
You have to follow us.
You know,
what's the Instagram?
It's the Eastville Social Club. Yeah. So you do that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so you know, my nan's passed away. My mum's still here, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to join this club. I grew up in Easton. I went to school in Easton. This club's in Easton. Why not keep a little family thing going and do something good?
Amazing.
Now, I've become the vice chairman.
Brilliant.
We're doing amazing things here, and it can only get better.
Brilliant.
You know?
And the other thing we had a little talk about was student outreach, you know, the idea of getting more young people in for more events. I mean, you obviously mentioned your jungle, your D&B, which especially for a Bristol student, the scene is very big there. How do you pitch this for students? What would you like suggest groups of people to come and do here?
Cheap drinks.
Cheap drinks.
We got cheap drinks. Yeah, they're very cheap drinks. We might look intimidating, but when you come in and you get to know us, we're a lovely bunch. Since we've started Northern Soul here, we've had John Cena, the wrestler, share posts about the club.
No way.
We've had a few other high-end Instagram people do videos. We've also had Mumford & Sons film their latest music video down here, the banjo song. So if any of your listeners want to come and like have a little look online and see what it's like before coming, the banjo song by Mumford & Sons was shot entirely here. And we also have some up-and-coming film shoots here too. So we're at an exciting stage, and it's only going to get better. So I'll just say to your listeners, come down, be part of it, become a member, and then in a few years' time you can be like, I know that place. Yeah.
I think it's just the old-fashioned feel here, you know. You can't get better than that, especially, you know, if you want to come for an evening. I mean, the amazing thing that I saw is you have some people from completely different generations, you know. I saw a young boy, probably about 6 years old. You see, you know, older generations who are doing amazing, the leather jackets, everything like that. What do you think is so special about that, like, intergenerational mixing?
Well, the thing about us being based in Easton, I'm an Easton boy. I grew up here all my life. I mean, a few weeks ago we had a Jamaican birthday party for a 90-year-old, Uncle Dave. We're just, you know, our members are so diverse, and we're just open to supporting anything in the community. We support a local community outside, a mental health charity that we rent a space. Well, we don't even rent, we don't charge them. They get to park their van here for free to help their charity, and we're just community focused. You know, as long as you're a member, you can put on a night and you'll always have our support. So if you guys want to be members and you want to do a crazy night, as long as it's within reason, we're happy to support you.
Amazing, thank you. Thank you so much for talking to us. No worries. Thank you for your time. Brilliant. Hello, who am I here with, and how long have you been doing Northern Soul?
Sorry, say that again.
Who am I here with, and how long have you been doing?
I'm Caroline Humphries, I'm 64. I've been doing it since I was 15.
Since you were 15? Yeah. Wow. What first got you involved in the whole Northern Soul scene?
It was underground cult when I was younger.
Yes.
And I like things that are underground cults. Yes. And it was a real big secret, and you could go out, get dressed up, have a good time. Yeah. But to all your friends at school, you felt something special because they were just doing the usual youth clubs.
So can you explain, like, the brief history of Northern Soul?
The brief history? Well, it comes originally from Detroit. It comes from America, which is where I went to watch all the old acts reform, and it was quite sad because none of them were ever paid enough money. Yeah. They were really ripped off back then in the 60s, but luckily the UK took it on board, mainly up north. That's why it's called Northern Soul. And so we went to Wigan Casino mainly, in Wigan, and I went there when I was 13 and danced the night away and got taken home on a coach. And I couldn't believe there were thousands of people there that wanted to do the same thing as me. And I was addicted then for life. And here I am now.
Here you are. And what is it that makes it so special?
I like the dancing. It's unique. I like the music and the beat. One of my partners when I was 16 was a drummer, and that made me a really good dancer, I think, because I got the beat, and it's really important. I used to do ballet when I was 6, so I don't know if that helped, but I've always been a dancer, and I always will be.
So did you have to train a lot for the Northern Soul moves, or did it all come naturally?
Oh, because naturally. I did used to train when I was about 15. I used to wear a carpet out in my mum's back room. I used to whirl around in circles. But once you get on that dance floor with you, everybody else is doing the same thing. It just comes naturally, and there's nothing better for dementia and exercising both sides of the brain than dancing.
And finally, if someone wants to get involved in Northern Soul, they've watched this video, they've seen it online, and they thought, that is a bit of me. How does one get involved? What, you know, do they just come along to something like this? Is there other sessions you do?
Lena and their brother, they actually do a dance workshop here to try and train people on how to dance. Absolutely. Well, we didn't need that back then. But, you know, if it makes you feel more confident on the dance floor when you're with all the professionals, well, not professionals, but with the old people doing it, then long may it last. I think it's wonderful what they're doing.
Perfect. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.